Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome back to the channel for another first look at Albion, the new region in Anno 11.7 Pax Romana, coming very soon. Remember, November 13th on the release of this one, but this is just a snippet of the demo that I played a little bit in private and wanted to share my thoughts a little bit more about Anno as a whole, the new iteration, the new game coming out again in November, and also this demo section. I feel, again, as I've been saying this whole time, it's been a very short demo, only allowing you to play each region separately for an hour. I think was not a great move from Ubisoft to be able to see more of the in-depth systems like the military and also the gods, which are going to be kind of an early thing that you can do for your islands. Here in this region, of course, we're in like the British Isles, we're in Celtic lands, and we'll see a Celtic leader a little bit later. And as I've always been saying too in this game, wood is an incredibly important thing for building in your city, so we'll be building a lot of logging camps and then more homes to work those camps, and then eventually getting our people some basic food. But if you haven't played the Anno series before, I can really only say it's maybe closer to the Sierra City Builder series, maybe a little sprinkling of games like Transport Fever, a little bit of City Skylines, a little bit of maybe even like the Banished series or Farthest Frontier. You may have seen those on the channel too, but regardless, it's a wonderful game franchise, and I'm happy that they're going back into the past with the more recent game that has released being Anno 1800, taking place, of course, in the 1800s, all the way up to kind of the early 1900s, it feels, but then other previous series going from 2070 and also 2205, so more futuristic. But jumping back here to Roman history and going to a new land that they're starting to colonize and kind of work with these people that live there is really interesting, honestly. It's very good stuff. Oh, the music is so wonderful. And the landscape here, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't subbed to the channel yet, now might be a good time to do that, as we'll be covering a lot more of Anno in the future, and may get some keys for giveaway upon its launch, so definitely make sure that you have subscribed and turn on that notification bell. Let me know what you think of the game down below. Unfortunately, by the time you're seeing this, I think September 16th will be the last day of the demo for this one, but I am urging the devs to have another demo period, or maybe perhaps a beta just before its launch, so that way there are no hiccups, so they can test any sort of last minute things, and also to give players a more unrestricted first look at this one. I feel like maybe perhaps the limitation of the time is to maybe hide a limit of features or something like that. I really feel like they could have done that in a different way, perhaps restricting players to the first two, maybe like what would you call them, classes of people. I forget exactly what they're called here in in Albion. I believe they're called waiters, and then they go on to be craftsmen or something else if you go down the Roman tier. But in this area, it's very interesting that now, for the first time, in a different way, we can modify the landscape. Previously in 1800, you were able to bring irrigation to places like in Africa. For example, you could bring a lot of farming to Africa through irrigation, and you could make lands that were unfertile fertile by connecting those to river nodes. But here, you can unlock a technology, if you so choose, to go down the Roman tier and drain these giant swamps, these marshlands. And for now, the Celts really like that because it provides them reeds, which they'll use to make shoes, and also to make eels for food. And I think the basic thing you provide them is eventually fish and eels, and then you move on to cheese and wine. And I think that may also be able to be made here. I haven't been able to do it yet, but cheese is something that in Latium, your original starting area, they will require. So your tier 3s will require that. But regardless, a gorgeous landscape. Again, I talk often about how usually in these games it would just be green grass and trees and that was it, but honestly in this game, Farthest Frontier, Ostriv, even in Foundation to a lesser extent, there's a lot of mud, and there's a lot of different like fertility for the ground. You can see kind of more lush areas for plants to grow. You can kind of see sandy areas and muddy areas. So they've done a good job of making just a non-filled area that's completely empty, very interesting that way. Like, it looks good, it looks vibrant, it looks alive, it looks realistic and believable. And that's something I really like about this game series. And they did that very well in Anno 1800, and I think they're perfecting it here in 11.7. Now, things that really remain to be seen for me is any sort of combat, both in naval and military. They have shown it themselves, but I haven't been able to do any of that myself, and that would have been something nice to be able to do in the actual demo itself. But when this game does release, we will have a single player campaign, which maybe possibly will be playable co-op, but I think it will be a single player campaign that when you complete that, it'll open up to just be a regular old sandbox game that's an add-on, kind of like almost like a new game plus, or like in most open world RPGs, when you finish the main story, they let you go back and do all the side quests and such. So if you play the campaign, which is a great way to learn, you'll more than likely be able to go back and improve your city after you've done that in the original campaign scenario. But there will be, of course, like a PvE skirmish mode. There'll also be PvP, and there'll be multiplayer where I'm hoping, I'm not sure exactly yet, but I hope that we'll be able to have multiple people run a city. And that was something that was great in Anno 1800, having like 4 or 5 people that could run a city, being in charge of different things like the military, or in city design, or the economy, or just managing your fleet, which was quite fun. So, and of course we get to manage a fleet here as well, and with it now having ground combat, it is still impossible to do ground combat without a navy. You must have a capable navy in order to land your troops on the enemy lands, if you're trying to be like in a force of conquest. And if you're trying to play defensively, of course, you can build palisades, towers, you can build walls of wood and of stone, and you can also, of course, build siege weapons, too, to besiege those things and destroy them. And there's also the option to, defend your with your military, your ground forces, too. Kind of reminds me a bit of like kingdoms and castles when an invasion may possibly come in. But again, going back to what I mentioned about this game's art, I think they really nailed a lot of the side things. When you look at very closely at the roads of people walking around, you'll see people transporting cattle around, or sheep, or goats, or they'll be walking around with children, or it'll just be somebody carrying like a ladder, or like a basket of apples. There's a lot of variety of the world kind of just existing. And in Manor Lords, for example, I believe when you see somebody on the streets in Manor Lords, if they're rolling a barrel, if they're transporting something around, it's a physical thing. Like it means that something is actually going somewhere. Here it's just set dressing. It's just kind of like B-roll. It's fake. It's not really anything getting done, but it does really serve a good purpose of being believable. Like it adds a lot of life to the world. And so it's the same in Latium as well, where you'll see people standing in the streets talking, people at the marketplace, people haggling and getting into arguments over who knows whatever, but it's day-to-day life in this world, and it's a very cool thing to see, especially if you hit Control Shift and R. And we'll do this a little bit later. If you hit Control Shift and R, you're actually able to walk around. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. This is kind of our quote-unquote pirates, our enemies of this world. This gal here has occupied this huge island and has fortified it significantly as well. So this Celt leader does not like us and will be hostile to us. I don't think there's any way to be friendly with her. So yeah, we're gonna have our boat get out of there. At a certain point too, I started playing this demo at ×2 speed to try to speed up the amount of materials that we could gather in the short amount of time that we had. Again, an hour to build in this game is really nothing at all, even for a mega pro player. I think they might be able to do a lot of the things that they want to do, but not actually. You could build things, but not actually kind of fully do what you want to do with that. So you could build like a large industrial area, but then by the time the demo's over, you really haven't made anything at all from that new development for, like making ships or something like that. Like you could have all of the pieces in place, which would be ropes and sails, which would require hemp and sheep, but then nothing would really come of that. A shame, really. A shame. I'm still not over it. I'm not over it, pal. Okay, so anyway, we got away from that crazy lady, and we're probably going to come on back home. In this map, I don't opt to settle a second island because most of the fertility for what we need for the Tier 1, Tier 2 workers is here on your main island. And every time that you played in the demo, the Latium map would be the same, and the islands surrounding it, like the world map of that, would be the same. And same here in Albion.
I did not think they would find me in among the weeds of my garden. Ithacus Tarragonus Taurus.
Ithacus. So obviously there are other people. If you're unfamiliar with the series, there are other people who occupy other islands that you can trade with. Usually they're friendly, but there are enemy. They will more than likely become enemies too. I remember from Anno 1800 there was a warmonger Maggie, if you remember that series, Margaret, whatever her name was, and she was always hostile. It was almost impossible to please her or keep her at peace with her. She was always looking to go to war and would use any reason to do it, no matter how friendly you were with her. And there are other reasons where these leaders will like you or dislike you too. For example, if you Ithacus that we just met, if you don't Romanize and try to keep things more Celt, he won't like that, and neither will the Emperor. But, ooh, look at this. Another beautiful NPC island. Again, packed with life, people moving around. It's gorgeous. This is probably one of my favorite regions I've ever seen in Anno. And essentially this would be like the, what the old world would look like in Anno 1800, you know, because you're more in like, west coast of Europe because you're connected to the ocean in the New World. But of course, Anno's always taken inspiration from many different parts of the world to try to make different themed buildings. I do wish, however, in Albion that we would get different looking buildings. For example, if you're in Latium and you build like a clay, like a tile maker that uses clay to make tiles, it's the same building in Latium as it is in Albion, and I just wish they would look slightly different. They could still be in the Roman style, but I do wish we would get different buildings based on where we're building, no matter who is like the architect of that building. But of course, the Celtic building's very interesting to look at as well. A lot of thatch, a lot of wood, a lot of mud. It's cool.
The place is unfinished.
All right, so now we're making different farms here for hemp, so we can eventually make tunics for our people. So they will require tunics and they will require shoes for the tier 1s. Once we provide everybody with everything that they need, when all their needs are met, then they can upgrade their home to the next tier. And once we are able to upgrade our first home to tier 2, then the kind of the final decision begins on whether or not we're going to Romanize this area or kind of work more with the Celts. I honestly think working with the Celts for my first playthrough is probably what I'll do, but it will be interesting to do another playthrough and Romanize things where more things like knowledge and hygiene become important with the building of the aqueduct to provide more fire safety, and also, of course, more hygiene because everybody can get all washed and clean, which is kind of nice. So, good stuff. But again, a very beautiful map, beautiful world, beautiful buildings. They've nailed it with how things look, and I think it looks on par with Anno 1800, which I think is a good thing. I don't really think they can bring the series too much further away from that for the time being, but. And here we are. Let's go walk around a little bit in first person. Oh yeah, kitties and chickens. You can click on them, they'll actually stop and interact with you if you click on them. A little light rain going on, and I think you can actually see a little bit of water in the streets, and I'm not sure if that only happens because it rains quite often in Albion, but pretty amazing to see that little detail. And a little play going on. Slaying the dragon with an axe, that's cool.
What they get up to in the far provinces.
Random conversations you can overhear as you walk around. You can walk through the parks that you build, which adds prestige. I haven't been able to yet really fully experiment to see how that mechanic will work, but it's certainly certainly an interesting thing to be able to walk through the streets and just kind of see everything unfold. It's just wonderful. I love that, especially if you build a gargantuan city in Anno 1800. That's amazing to see a Victorian era city functioning with vehicles driving around. But here it's now horse carts and carriages and people pushing around wheelbarrows. It's very smart looking. All right, now the big decision.
To a sandal. Local, see.
Gonna finally upgrade our first home, or neighborhood in this case. Okay, so we have the Romano-Celtic, and we also have the Celtic choices. I think we're going to go with the one on the right, and that will be where we develop smiths, and that'll be more focused on religion. And then again, we get cheese and some other things too. Now, by the end of this video, we'll have a tin mine going. We'll have a copper mine going. That, of course, will make bronze, and that will make bronze for a few different things as well. So there'll be, I think... maybe the horns that they have, there's brooches, a few things that they want to wear, things that are important to them culturally that we'll make out of those. And I believe another island, actually maybe we will go to another island. I can't quite recall, but going to another island does mean that we'll bring back, I believe it's copper. I think this island has tin. No, I think this island has copper. I can't remember. But we'll figure it out when we see. But that's a good example of why everything is not always on each island. You'll have to fight over multiple islands to get the quote-unquote fertility of what you'll need for things from like the shoreline around the island, the rivers on the island, and then also in the mountains too. And one thing that happens in this game, and I mentioned it before in other videos, is that the nodes of the mountains and the rivers are kind of universal. In the previous Anno game, an island would have like 3 coal deposits, 2 iron deposits, and then that was it. But here, all 5 of them could be whatever you choose. So if you just want to turn an island just into a like tin producing powerhouse, then you could take that island and make sure every mountain node or every river node produces a material that you want or need, and then ship that over to a different island. You could always use an island, you know, as kind of a more basic island for extraction. But what's important here is that money is everything in Anno, in the whole Anno series, and Pax Romana will be no different. Now, in this demo, you can basically go bankrupt. The money doesn't really matter in the demo because, one, there's really not enough time to make money, and there's not enough time to spend all your money. Although, if you do get close to like going over by building things constantly, like you could have a positive income, but you're building so quickly that your money's not really coming in. And so, one thing you can do is, you know, the emperor will come and say, hey man, I'm going to just give you some money, and he'll just give you 20,000. So it really encourages you to build crazily, but I don't know why the devs just didn't give you like 10 million bucks then at the beginning to just spend and do whatever for the demo. All right, right now we're building what will be eventually a dairy farm. So these little paddocks will be for all of the different cows or whatnot that will go in there, and then eventually we can build a dairy. And another thing that I want to make mention here too is that dairy that we're putting in is going to be a big bonus to the city. In Anno 11.7, it does appear that a lot of buildings have usually a plus and a minus to them. There's like a positive benefit and then something that's bad about them. Like, for example, if you put let's say a fishmonger or something in the middle of the city, somebody who processes fish into something edible. I don't think that's a building in the game, but it would do something like add more coin to the city. People would be closer to go get food, but maybe it'd be negative on a hygiene or something because it's not as healthy. Something of that nature. It's the same as if you were to put like a charcoal kiln in the middle of the city. That more than likely would be a double negative, right? It would probably be unhealthy to be near all that thick black smoke if you lived there, and also fire hazard too. But then on the other hand, a bakery could be a plus and a minus. Happiness because people are near fresh bread, but a minus because it again is a fire hazard. But then there's buildings to mitigate that. And this is where this becomes a little bit, in my mind, more like city skylines, where because the buildings are placed with a range to them, like if you put down a marketplace, it's not necessarily the roads that are around the marketplace that will kind of extend its range. It's the building itself, so it has like a large radius around it, a big circle that can be upgraded through research. And this game does have research, which immediately I would recommend you start to go for like the market research and whatnot, so that way all your buildings have a greater range for services, and that'll keep people a lot happier. And that can be done with the police departments and eventually the fire departments and other things like that. And they also will have smaller buildings too, where like the fire department is kind of a very large building, and it's sometimes difficult to fit it in every place that you need to, and you'll be moving buildings, and it can get really tedious to make sure you've covered every part of your city to give them the maximum amount of fire prevention that you can. And so eventually you can research smaller buildings that then can fit in all the nooks and crannies and are a little cheaper to construct, and I think also have a smaller operating cost. So that's another good thing about them. Okay, so we're getting a little closer now to industrializing. We've started to build some manufacturing buildings on the left, and also some more farms, so we'll start to make more things. I think there's a new material in this game that I've never heard of before, a new flower type that's used to make their shields. It's like a dye, and I forget what it's called, but we'll see that in a moment. It might actually be called Wade or something like that. I think that actually is what it's called. So yeah, video games have taught me a lot, man. I learn about all these things where it's like you know, I've never heard of a plant or whatnot before, or a food type, and then the you know, the game can teach you or get you interested in those things, and you can research it later. So I love that. Okay, so another example of scooting buildings around until we get you know, all the fire departments that we need in place, and then that of course will increase fire safety. That'll increase happiness, and I think also might increase your money. Regardless, you should always just have everything be not red, you know. Your money, your happiness, your fire prevention should all be, you know, the white color. You want to not be in the red. That'll be bad. Okay, so now we're going to be producing clay tiles to build some more of our advanced buildings, and I believe we have a clay pit down. And oftentimes what I do is I build more buildings than what I need, and then kind of just turn them off or on when I expand. And in Anno, you're always going to be expanding, like always, all the time. And each island will always need like an extra food source. So if there's ever a surplus, unfortunately, we don't get to see it too much in this demo, but you know, a standard Anno game, you would absolutely make a trade route from Island A to Island B, and anything that Island A has in surplus, you would probably ship to the other island, so that way you could, you know, kind of make it so that way they have more stuff without having to add more labor to them. But a big portion of this game is your population, and so the more things, the more people that you have buying more things, the better it is. So if you have a ton of stuff, if you're making a lot of things, and you make a lot of buildings for those people to be able to make stuff, and then you have a variety of products, then you'll have a lot more money. So more stuff, more things, more all the time. It's good. I like it. This is probably one of my favorite buildings in the game too. This is the recreational area. There's like a hill with a tree on it, and they're telling stories and they're playing instruments. You got people like kind of sparring, and I don't know if they're like practicing fighting or if they're like, I kind of imagine them practicing for the theater. But very cool to see. It reminds me of what I've seen at Renaissance festivals. And something I've seen more at Renaissance festivals lately too is less of the medieval era of like just medieval like Central Europe. And more of just like, hey, here's how the samurais worked. Here's how the Vikings worked. Like, you know, some things are a little before and past their time. But I appreciate seeing people dressed in historical outfits and then being very, very knowledgeable about, you know, certain things and sharing that with everybody. So cool stuff, especially if somebody's well read in the subject. Okay, so as these pop up, the game is telling us more and more of what we need to provide to our people, like trousers and headbands. So those take, you know, copper and fleece and other things from sheep. So we'll continue to build all those things. Now, Albion and Latium, you know, I was expecting a lot of things to be the same in this game, and they are, right? There was only so many things humanity knew about at the time. So there's a lot of things that are shared between them, like growing of hemp and sheep. A lot of the materials are the same. So the good thing about that is if you have Latium producing a ton of hemp or something like that, you could always ship that over to Albion and not really have to worry about sheep production too much. But literally, it's so much faster, I think, and well sustained to just have a sheep farm or two working on your sales. But that is something you know, that you could ship back over to Latium as well. You could have a lot of sheep make sales here and then ship those materials back to Albion to build your fleet, or build your fleet here in multiple places. And it's probably not a bad idea, because likely you're going to be attacked by the locals and also your friends, you know, people playing against you in co-op or whatnot. Oh, dude, the copper mine looks so cool. That's very nice. I like it. Okay, so yep, going to continue on building all the industrial buildings that we need. And it's pretty impressive how many things we're able to shove into a very small island, and that's why being a Celt is going to be difficult, because you'll eventually run out of land much more quickly than if you go Roman, and the Romans will be able to drain those giant marshlands, and with those marshlands drained, you'll be able to have a lot more farmland. And so I think the Romans are going to prioritize a lot more of farming and agriculture in this region, and then it'll be more bread production and probably things like porridge bread, maybe more hemp and wade and other things that either might be needed here and a much more bigger variety on agriculture, or a lot of things you can ship back to Latium, because you're going to have a lot more lower tier workers here that are more focused on agriculture. Everything in Albion, or rather in Latium, in your original starting map, is going to be more focused on culture. You know, I feel like the way it works in this game is the higher the tier, the more snooty the people. In Anno 1800, first it's the farmers and the workers, and they're very important to each other for helping each other to be fed and to do things like raise pigs and make sausages out of them and work the factories. But then when you start to get into the artisans, who are a little more skilled, they're working things like, I think they make sewing machines and windows and things like that. They get more whiny. Then you get into the engineers and the investors, and everybody's just all entitled and whiny. And here it seems to be the same thing when you hit tier 3 with the tier 3 Roman class. Then they want, of course, they want their entertainment and whatnot, and it makes sense. and gods will be a little bit more important to them as well, I think, for keeping them happy, depending on what you choose. But speaking of gods in this game, they've put a little bit of work into making sure that the gods were both Roman and also Celtic, and kind of a mix of both. And they provide benefits to your cities, so it's almost like you're picking a kind of a specialization for the city in a way. If you choose to have a particular god in one island, you can have the same god in another one or mix it up, and there's a bonus to like a global worship of a particular god across all your cities of all regions. And then there's a local bonus that applies to your city. For example, if you pick I think it's Neptune, if you pick Neptune, then you'll have a bonus for certain types of fish and producing garum and other things of that nature. That might not be exactly how it is, but you know, those particular materials, but there is a bonus to production that way. And so if you've got a city that's making a lot of hemp, for example, and you choose the goddess of the harvest, then your agricultural buildings will provide much more output. And so that's a great thing. Okay, so now the drinking horns are going to be a thing, and clan shields will be a thing as well. So that again goes more towards culture for the Celts and will make them more happy. But again, the more things that you provide to them, the more money that you're going to make. And arguably, I see a lot more spending power in this region than I did in the New World in 1800. In other words, I always thought that the new worlds that you would discover would have more rare resources, but the people would kind of be more poor and wouldn't really provide a lot of money. But it seems like in this case that is not the case anymore, with being able to make so many different things for the people. Of course, these islands are more of a challenge to get the population up like you would have in Latium, but here it does seem like there's a lot more rarity to things that people are really willing to spend a lot more money on here than exporting them to Latium. So there's a lot more local consumers of products and also local production of products. So that's nice. There's a lot more things that they can make and consume here to make money rather than having to be shipped in order to make cash. Because that could be a problem when you're at war with somebody. They'll attack your supply lines between the old and new world, and that's kind of the a little less of a problem here. But of course, things will still have to be shipped back to Latium. No doubt about it, for sure. Oh, good. We're putting down our was it the Phantom? A little bit of a temple there. And we're going to take a little first person look at that one.
Companion here contends that the Romans have never done anything for us.
Oh, and look at that.
Lord of the Fenland, how do?
Oh, and the music's so lovely here too. One of my thoughts that I continue to go back to is in Anno 1800 and in this game, I like the music that plays in each of the maps, but I feel like I'm going to be spending a lot more time in Latium because there's just more things to build. You know, the Romans were builders, and there's going to be things like roads and the Colosseum. And I suspect the Colosseum will kind of work like a world wonder where it will take multiple steps to build that. And so a lot of things will have to be supplied. It won't just be plop down the building and that's it. I think it'll be plop down blank construction site and then over time supply things to it during a long amount of time. And that means that I think you're going to be spending a lot of time in Latium, which means you'll be hearing that music a lot more, as the music of Albion is kind of nice too. So I hope there's a setting to be able to hear all music so it doesn't become so repetitive. It's refreshing when you've got to jump to a different region and hear that music, but you know, it is what it is. Now, when it comes to the maps too, I believe the original map of Latium, I believe they said was a large map. And this map here feels more like a medium-sized map in terms of the island that you start on. So these are like medium and large-sized islands that we've seen so far. But I do hope we get to see something gargantuan. Like in Anno 1800, there is a map called Cape Telrani, and that does allow you, I think that was with the Seat of Power DLC, allowed you to build like a giant capital city. And I could only imagine the Romans to not build these things on islands, but to build them along the coast. So I do hope that there is an option in the future to settle on a beautiful gargantuan coastline like a peninsula or something like that, or just bigger islands in general. All right, we're going to take a little tour around with our boat and see what we can go see. I'm just trying to get some really picturesque shots here. It's gorgeous. These could almost be paintings, like you could commission a painting of these ships going along all the shorelines. But what we're going to do now is we're going to occupy another island. I didn't think about it when we first started the playthrough, and I didn't think of it now at the start of this video, but yeah, the boat here is going to be loaded up with some materials to go settle a new island. And then when we do that, we're going to bring back more materials. So not too long now until we have everything we need in order to bring our tier 2s all the way up to the maximum of what they can have. Currently in this demo, we were only able to go up to tier 2 with both Albion and Latium. So unfortunately, we're not able to show any of the tier 3s. However, on the channel, though, again, this is a reason why you should sub, is we've got some first look earlier in the year. I was able to go to, you know, like an earlier playthrough version of the game and see a little bit more of Latium going up to tier 3, building aqueducts, a arena, and a few other things. There's live streams of me covering it a little bit more in detail and some shorter videos too. So what is known of this game is, you know, the building is great and a lot of the basics of Anno are here, but I need to see more of the combat and the military stuff. I know you all want to see that too. It'd be kind of impossible to play a game about Rome and not have, like, you know, the legions and combat and conquest. And so the fact that we haven't really ourselves been able to get our hands on that is a little frustrating, to be honest. I do want to be able to build armies, put them on ships, and invade and see how that works and how fun that is. Is it too quick? You know, how in-depth is the combat? And again, they have shown that, but I got to be able to feel it. I could watch a dev play all day, but when you get a multitude of different, you know, actual, like, gamers who are big fans of this series to be able to play it, they can compare it, I think, a little better to other series. And really say what they like and what they don't like about it, is where the devs will just say, hey, here's what we've done, but if we get our hands on it, we can say, okay, here's what could be done. You know what I mean? It allows us to expand our horizons a little bit more and give them a little bit more encouragement for future DLCs, which, yeah, that's going to be a thing. Boy, oh boy. Anno 1800 had, like, oh, I don't know, 10, it felt like 10 DLCs, allowing us to go to Africa and the Arctic, and allowing us to do more stuff in the new world and build new stuff in the old world. And it was a really great period of time. Like the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution, fascinating period of time, and allowing us to do so much, and so much in the Anno series as well. But I'm really curious to see where they will go here, which I think will be anywhere where the Romans went or anybody they interacted with, even briefly. I think they could bend history a little bit, because by the end of Anno 1800, we had literally airships. Literally airships, right? Like we had dirigibles flying around like something from Final Fantasy. We're not just talking about like the Hindenburg and a couple of Zeppelins. I'm talking about like they literally felt like they were out of a fantasy game. And so here I think we'll see a little bit of that as well. And I think it'll be optional too. Like if you're not interested in that DLC, that's fine. But I do think we might see something about maybe the Silk Road. Maybe we'll see something about I don't know, maybe the Vikings at a certain point. It is hard to say, but I'm not opposed to anything they do. I just want to know what they got planned. I'm filled with too much hype and excitement. I have no idea what they'll do, but I do believe it'll be, you know, more around the Mediterranean and Albion. I'm really happy that they actually chose to do Albion too. It would have been a little too close to home if they somehow stayed in the Mediterranean and made it more. I don't know. I wasn't expecting them to go here. I really thought this would have been a later DLC when I heard about, you know, Rome. I was like, oh, well, they got to go somewhere else. They got to go to another quote-unquote new world, and this was quite a good choice, actually. So hopefully we see many more new places. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to sell things to our trader here to see if we can get some cash, but he's not interested in buying any of the stuff we got. I was hoping that maybe I could quickly buy tin and copper from him. So we'll say screw it, and we'll go settle a new island, and that'll be it right there with all the different fertility. And I really think I really love Anno for that fertility thing, man. It's always so exciting when you find the perfect item that has an island that has every item that you need, and it's always mind-boggling. Like right there, that marsh island. Like, can you even occupy that one? I don't even think you can. It's so cool when you find just pretty islands to just look at for a little bit. I don't know. A lot of people play this game all about function, and a lot of people play this game to be beauty builders and be about form. I tend to be a little bit, maybe 50-50, with a little bit more leaning towards like form. I want my city to look nice. It doesn't always have to be profitable. It doesn't always have to be, you know, perfect layout of optimization with trade routes and stuff. I kind of just am better at building in Anno as a player of beauty. And it's that way in Farthest Frontier too, which has a release date this year as well. So keep an eye on that one as well. Farthest Frontier, big game on the channel. Really cool. I love that one tremendously. It's from the same folks who made Grim Dawn. crate entertainment. So hopefully we see a lot more of what they've done in their game in here too. When I saw the research in Anno, I immediately thought about what I had been learning about in Farthest Frontier about them working on a tech tree. So city builders with tech trees are always they're either a hit or a miss. Sometimes I don't like how there's tech done, and sometimes it could take too long and be too expensive, and you can get so burnt out just waiting and waiting and waiting for research to be done. But here at least it's impacted by your population and a few other factors from Albion as well. So if you're waiting for a research to be done so you can launch a naval invasion, at least there's ways to build more schools, get more education, and do lots of stuff that way. I like it. There's potential for more ways to get that education too, and more ways to get money than just taxes. And I don't think that's something we can do in this game is modify the taxes. I don't think that was in 1800 or this game. You can modify productivity, but I don't remember how it all worked. I don't remember the extent of the options we had. All right, plopping down some more buildings to increase happiness there and fire protection. Love to see it. Oh man, I can hear what sounds to be rioting going on down there in the streets. I think there's actually a fire going on.
Commands thee.
Oh yeah, I think we're out of money.
So you do have convictions of your own.
As ever, we shall obey.
All right, so more things to build in the town. We're coming up towards the end of being able to supply everybody with everything that they need. And we're getting ready to also build in our new city, too. Still taking a peek at perfect places where we can construct our city. Now, in Anno, from what I've seen so far in this new version in Pax Romana, it does appear that a dock is built by just money. It doesn't look like you need to provide wood or whatnot anymore in order to build it. So when you pull up, it's just going to be like 4,500 is what I've seen for starting cash. But then I've also seen like 12,000. So I'm not sure how that works exactly. Maybe it's more expensive to build in Albion. I'm not sure. But you always do want to build with like a new island building with wood by bringing wood. So you're going to be putting down your little port, and then you're going to start building houses, and that's all going to take wood. So bring that along. Oh, wonderful. A little beautiful screenshot. Look at that. Gorgeous. How pretty. Got to get that YouTube thumbnail in. That's how the magic is made. That's how you make some magic right there. Movie magic. All right, so speeding up things now so we can get our boat into position to settle the new island. Overall, things are going pretty well in the city. I really need to see late mid game and late game too. I'm wondering how things are going to go with most of the players and AI. Like, does everybody just end up getting bored and going to war? I feel like that's the number one reason. And let me know your thoughts on this one. I feel like the number one reason people go to war in like Civilization is they kind of just get bored. Like, even if you're thinking about being a military player, it just seems like everybody, just ends up like going down the military tier of invasion because they're just like, I got a military here, we're close to the end of the game, I'm just gonna launch an invasion. Like, why not? Oh, the music's so nice.
The difficult second step has been achieved with aplomb. Your confidence knows no bounds.
Confidence knows no bounds. All right, so now we're starting on a beautiful 45-degree angle road here. It's painful to build in these regions. They're so pretty. It's so difficult to like make the decision to actually construct stuff here. You don't want to build because it's so gorgeous, but you got to because you got to make that money, yo. You know what I mean? For real, no cap. Again, if you click on a road and then click on a neighborhood as well, it'll make a full square of roads around that neighborhood. So that's cool. I do like that. And there's some of the nodes that we're going to start converting into tin mines. So we can get tin and copper to make bronze for some of the other things we need at the main island. So that should be a good time. For sure. For real. So we're going to construct some more roads. We're going to construct some more homes, a couple of buildings to keep everybody fed. I'm usually thinking like, are we going to do the basics here? But yeah, we end up doing that. So we'll build the eel catcher and the fisherman's dock, and just keep on providing goods to everybody. All right, Emperor is trying to give us another little bit of money because we're quite low on cash again. And we'll just keep on building roads and building structures. So this one's all going to just be about mining. This is going to be raw resource collection. Going to be gathering tin. But this town at least will provide a little bit of cash with the folks buying all the different fish. We'll have to put down a marketplace and some of those basic civic structures too. But it should all work out in the end. Again, just very beautiful waterfalls. A lot of cliffs in this one. I don't think the other map in Latium really has too many. It has mountains for sure, but they don't feel as tall as Albion, where Albion feels more like something out of Lord of the Rings, or like maybe like Game of Thrones, some sort of fantasy world. It just feels more fantasy than anything else. It's cool, but it's based on real history, so it's kind of nice. You gotta love it.
Ever at your service.
And then we'll just keep on funneling things back and forth for everybody. So we're going to bring some materials over for construction. We need to bring over tiles and, wattle, in order to make more advanced buildings, construct more advanced buildings. So that'll help speed run in building the new city. And always fun to be able to start a new city and then just have a fleet of ships off the shore just ready to drop out materials. I mean, you can build a city in almost a quarter of the time if you know what you're doing. Additionally, this does have a blueprint mode, and that does help to plan out a city in advance. You could have a whole city laid out knowing what you're going to do and where you're going to put things. And then as the materials for it come in, or as the need arises, you can then click on that building and have it constructed right then and there. So even if you don't have the materials, you can save yourself a lot of time. Bum, bum, bum. This music's so nice. Okay, so now we're going to keep on constructing the reed farms. That's going to give us shoes, basic standard day one stuff. I feel like Albion has a much easier start for taking over other islands, so maybe perhaps that's why those islands cost. And again, I don't know how this will work in the main game, but it was like 4,500 to build a new port in Latium, the original starting region, and then like 12,000 I noticed for building in the like in the new region in Albion. So I don't know what that's all about. We'll have to see as time goes on, though. Of course, this is a demo version, so everything's all subject to change pretty much any time. I really enjoy just listening to the music in this game. It's so plentiful. There's a lot of good songs. It's plentiful. It's beautiful, but it'll get old quick. Because I'm going to put like 1,000 hours into this bad boy when it comes out. Remember, November 13th. Add it to your wish list if you want to play. I'm also looking forward to playing with you guys too. We'll more than likely play like a full day in live stream. So for those of you who are Anno fanatics or whatnot, that'll probably come up after we beat the campaign. I'll more than likely play the campaign first, and then open it up to. I'll probably do a single player like a single player like skirmish series against the AI as well. And then do some multiplayer online stuff with you guys live. That'll be more fun, I think. Always good to be able to interact with everybody live. We did that with Civilization. We did that with oh boy, what was the name of that other game? History Untold? Yeah, those games were fun. It was fun to play with you all. So really looking forward to more cool stuff with the community and seeing how there are victory conditions. Now, I did mention this in our previous video about Latium. I'm not entirely sure what the victory conditions will be in this game. I think you could knock people out by, taking them over. I don't know what it means to conquest of an island militarily. I don't know if you just have to drop off a couple of troops, and if the enemy doesn't have an army, you instantly win, or if you need to destroy a certain number of structures. But I'd love to see it. They may have mentioned that, but again, I got to see it and feel it to really know that it's there. And I want to know the other ways to win too. Like there's going to be players who might have a military to play defensively, but they want to build all the monuments of Rome. I mean, you know, the Romans built a lot of stuff. It makes sense to want to also build. So with the Colosseum and with the aqueducts being things that we can build, maybe even what is it, Circus Maximus, horse races and such. It would be very amazing to build like giant temples and win somehow. Maybe there could be a religious victory by getting the most amount of like worship points for all the different religions somehow and boost that. Cultural victory through theaters and coliseums, military victory, and then maybe like an economic victory somehow. It would be more like Civ that way, but I wouldn't mind it because, you know, after taking over the map militarily a few times, I'm going to be bored of that, honestly. And when it comes to games about Rome, it seems to always come down to military, military, military. So it's nice to see a city builder around the Roman times too. There's so many like Total War-ish, old world-ish, Civ-ish type games that just kind of have you focus more on building the troops and taking everyone over. And that's fun and all, but I feel like that's kind of instant gratification and is not going to be this game's long-term. But again, going back to the military stuff, Albion does have options for your troops to have different, there are different infantry and cavalry that will come along by being Celtic. And I believe there's a chariot that you can have, and then also warriors with axes, like I think axe throwers, so they get different bonuses against armor. So they're much more capable of taking out Roman fighters. But if you go Roman, maybe you get different boats and stuff here, and ships that are easier to build in Albion. I don't know. Alright, so we're just adding a couple of finishing touches to this new island, and we're trying to get as much tin as possible in the shortest amount of time. And man, now just watching this again, I kind of feel like I want to go build again one last day on the last day of the demo, but yeah, I don't know. I'm recording this before the 16th, so on one hand it's like I want to play again, on the other hand it's like making a beautiful painting, right? You're sitting down at a canvas, you have all your paints, you know, you're Bob Ross, right? You're making happy little trees and happy little bushes, and then after an hour someone just comes over and drop kicks the canvas and screams at you to start all over. And it's like, well, you know, you ripped it out of my hands like I was kind of like having fun, and now I'm not having so much fun. Regardless, I was going to play this game no matter what because I love the series, but the demo is just kind of like, what the hell were you thinking? There's the same thing about that with Capcom, what they did with Resident Evil 2, where they made it like a one-time playable demo where you could play the Resident Evil 2 demo once and then that was it, and then like uninstalled. It's like, what the hell is up with these weird, like, we don't, like, tell us you don't want to make a demo without telling us you don't want to make a demo. They just folded their arms, and it's like somebody, you know, they said they had to have a demo and they wanted to make the worst possible demo, so they're not asked to make demos again in the future. I don't know, it's just mind-boggling. There must be some market research about it, but it's just like, man, just make it a single player, only to tier 2 demo where you could only play in one region, either A or B. That's all you had to do, really. The time limit thing was just weird. I mean, if there was no time limit, I think players could have, especially those who were trying to inform and instruct people and make tutorials, endgame wise, you could have made the perfect tier 1, perfect tier 2 city where everything is, you've built all the structures and buildings available, and even a military, and that would help players to explore and become better players. I don't know why they would be opposed to that. Like, we don't want people playing our game, is what I get from that. Like, we don't want you playing it, but we had to make this, like, legally we were obligated. It feels so forced. It's so dumb. But other than that, at least I enjoyed the demo. I enjoyed live streaming it with you all, and I also enjoyed this extra video series of building a little bit more in Albion to see things that I didn't get a chance to play in the demo because I was playing on slow, right? I was playing on the, you know, the slowest speed, so I could take a look at everything. I mean, how does the game look? How does the game feel? How did the roads, you know, function at the 45-degree angles? How is the naval combat and like trading systems and such? And there's just not enough time to do everything in a demo like this. Just not. I don't know. But anyway, all that aside, I am very much looking forward to the release again, November 13th. I do believe I will get early access to this beforehand, so hopefully my wait is not as long, and we can advise on some things. I'm also hoping that the developers do not do that whole, hey, there's the standard poor man's edition for $70. This is insulting too. But then, hey, But there's the $90 one where you get to pay us more, a privilege. You get to pay us more. Oh, well, such an honor, and you get to play 4 days early or something like that. I absolutely hate that. I just noticed that I did that with like Dune, and I had the new DLC already because I pre-purchased it to play early and pre-bought the DLC. But I have no time to like play the Dune DLC. So locking players into that is it's a scam. It's a scam and it's cruel. Like, if you make a good game, people will buy that good game. People will wow, this seems like a good game. I'd like to purchase this good game. So far, I've been playing Battlefield. I always call it this. I've been playing, of course, Borderlands 4. And I've also been playing the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 DLC. And both of those are fun. And they should sell themselves because they're very fun. Now, of course, they need marketing. But no better marketing than players just finding out, hey, this game was really fun. You should give it a try. And if you don't get a time to try it now, you should play it later. Now, speaking of later, I still do have Anno 2070 and 2205 that I think I bought before Anno 1800 came out. That came out back in 2019, I think. And like back in like 2018 or 2019, before 1800 came out, I bought those games thinking, oh, I'll get around to playing those before 1800 drops, and then it dropped and I never had any time. So maybe, just maybe, probably unlikely, I would play Anno 2070 or 2205 before this drops. So if you've played those games, let me know what Anno you prefer, 2070 or 2205, and why. Like, what makes that game better than the other one? Or did you prefer like 2070 over 1800? For me, of all the things that I've seen, and I've seen some people play 2070, I've heard everybody say 1800 was the best, and I feel like that might just be because of its period in time. I don't know for sure, but I think going from tall ships and it feeling like the late 1700s and then going into what felt like the early 1900s, a period of almost 200 years there, at least that's, again, what it felt to me, is astounding. I love that. And I wish we could see some things like that in Foundation too, and in Farthest Frontier, where we get more ships and things like that. All right, everybody. Well, we're coming up to the end of this video. Some glamour shots here of the island and all of its glory, and the city too. So again, I just wanted to thank you all for subbing to the channel. Thanks for all your support here on Raptoria. Things are getting tough out there for us YouTubers. They're putting restricted mode on and hiding things all the time. I preach it all the time, and people think I'm crazy and they tune out, and then then they wonder where all the good videos and creators have gone, and it's because they want you watching the damn Roblox stuff, and they want you watching Mr. Beast and not things that you actually want to watch. So always fight against that force. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and give a video a watch every once in a while, even if you're not interested in it, just to keep things in your feed. And that goes for every channel that you watch that you want to keep seeing. All right, well, that's going to be my time for now. Thank you very much for all of your support again, and I will see you next time. And again, I'll see you on November 13th, 2025 for the full release of Anno 11.7. I know you call it 1.17, but 11.7 Pax Romana. All right, I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.